Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Aaron. If you're new here, thanks for stopping by, and if you are a current subscriber, I appreciate you coming back and watching my videos. I think I said all that right. I don't know, it's been a while. So, The Last Voyage of the Demeter. I recently saw this movie, and I gotta say straight from the beginning that I really enjoyed this movie. I thought the concept looked interesting, because I'm so tired of the sexy vampires and everything.
Girls just can't resist my good looks, my style, and my charm, and my unflinching ability to listen to Taylor Swift.
I didn't see like a full trailer because I was planning on doing a reaction to a trailer, which I never got to. I knew the basic premise, where there's a bunch of people on a boat transferring a bunch of unspecified cargo in these boxes, and then one of them's Dracula, and it all goes haywire from there. So the things I liked about this movie, like I said, I really liked most of it. I thought the soundtrack was great. It was nothing like where you would remember a theme or anything after you saw it. But in the movie, I thought it worked great, and there were moments where there were certain instruments used. It really helped increase the tension in a scene, and I really liked that, and so I thought the soundtrack was awesome for this film. The acting was great, honestly, from everybody. The main character I thought was interesting. I loved the aspect of he was a man of science and logic, and he wanted to figure out like what made the world tick. He was just very inquisitive about life, and that was all he really cared about, was just finding answers to certain life questions. And I found that really interesting because I've never really seen a character in any other film be that way, especially in a movie that's, horror themed and involves, vampires on a boat in the 1800s or whatever this was. I found the character incredibly interesting and likable and somewhat relatable as well. My favorite character, however, was the captain of the ship. I've seen this actor before, I can't remember where. Thinking it might have been in Game of Thrones, but I'm not sure. He was perfect. Like, he fits the stereotypical looking sea captain that you would see in like a painting or something from back then. He was an interesting character. I thought the actor was great. Every time he was on screen, I was like, I wish he was on screen more in this movie. As for the shocking jump scare moments, I thought they were done really well. There were moments where it's gonna happen, and they hold it just long enough so that right when you're like, when's it gonna happen? When's it gonna happen? Come on, come on. Boom! And then it happens. And I loved that. I thought that was great. The editing was just right for that. As far as cinematography goes, I thought it was pretty well shot for a horror film, especially kind of, smaller scale, I guess. Nothing new, nothing unique or anything, but it did its job, and that's really all I care about, is it effective in what it does? And I thought pretty much everything that they did in this movie was effective. So in my quick 1-minute review, I mentioned that there were some flaws in this movie, and so I'm gonna get to those now. One of the flaws was that certain scenes, the creature Dracula, because he's really more of a creature in this movie instead of like a person. Some of the scenes he looked very computer generated. In other scenes, he looked like a mixture of computer generated and practical effects. He kind of evolves and adapts throughout the film, so he kind of like progresses into different body types. So each time that happened in the film, I was always wondering like, okay, is this CGI? Or is this practical? The problem was that it was never practical enough to the point where I'm like, there's no doubt that's a practical effect. It just looks way too real. Every time he was on screen, I was like, okay, is it a mixture or is it full CGI? So I would have preferred if it was more practical, but I like that they never show the full creature until the movie really gets like halfway through. So they really build up over time, like you only see glimpses of him, or a hand, or like him in a shadow, or him on the screen for like just like a split second where you barely get a look, and you're like trying to see what he looks like, and then he's gone. It's very quick, and I thought that worked great because you're experiencing this happening to the crew kind of through their eyes. So it worked, I thought, really, really well. Another CGI problem was the first time the creature actually kills a crew member by biting its neck. When it lifts its head up and the blood like drains out of its mouth, it looked like way too fake. And I couldn't tell if it was the movement of it or the color or both, but it didn't seem like blood. Like, I felt it should have been more like draining down instead of just like, I don't know. There was something about it that really like threw me off when I saw it. And I was like, oh, that looks bad. The rest of the scenes involving blood and gore were fine. So I don't know why that scene was like that. I never felt like the movie was too long when I was watching it, but afterward, when I was thinking about rewatchability, I was like, yeah, I could see getting up at multiple points during this movie to go make myself a snack or to look through my phone or something. So I guess in a way that's a detriment, and in another way it's not, because if you're someone who only watches movies like once, you should go into this movie and be like totally fine with it and never be like bored. I've never read Bram Stoker's Dracula, which this movie is based off a single chapter near the beginning of the book, apparently. But there were moments in the film where you can tell the creature has like some telepathy or something with other humans that it like infects with vampire blood or whatever. And they don't fully explain how it happens or what is happening totally. So I guess for people who know the lore and have read the book and all that, like they probably know what's going on, but for someone who hasn't, I was kind of just like, okay, are they going to explain this, or are we just going to be like, oh, they've got white hazy eyes and they're acting weird? So I would have liked if that could have been explained a little bit more. Besides that, those were pretty much like my only gripes with this movie. The scenes on the boat are great. I mean, the whole movie's on the boat, more or less. The scenes where they're out at sea in like a giant storm or something, it looks so real. And I thought that was great as well. I love that. It's just different and you don't see it in films a lot. So overall, for a film experience at a theater and just enjoying the movie, I would personally give it an 8. For rewatchability, I'd probably give this like a 5, because I wouldn't buy this and watch it like every 6 months or something. Like, I would buy it or rent it and maybe watch it once or twice with someone who hadn't seen it before. But I feel like a lot of horror films are kind of like that. If you see it once and you like it, usually you don't rewatch it by yourself because you want to share the experience with someone who hasn't seen it, because it's always more fun that way. But the rewatchability for me is like a 5 on this. Overall, the film as a whole, including production and set design and editing, acting, everything, I would probably give this an 8 as well. I thought it was really good. The only thing that I felt could have been improved on was the CGI and the practical effects for the monster version of Dracula. I also loved the ending of this movie. It gave me chills, and there were moments on the boat during the movie that gave me chills as well. If a horror movie gives me chills, then it goes on my list of favorite horror films, because I have seen a lot of horror movies, and most of them I'm like very like not even interested in. There's been a couple films that have actually like stuck with me and made me like feel a little nauseous or sick or scared, or like my adrenaline's pumping a bit. This was one of them, so I automatically put it on my list. I would like to see more in the Dracula saga. It's like a continuation of this particular story. They ended it well, where it can just be a solo movie, but they also left it really wide open to make more movies. I think that's great. I loved the ending, and I would so totally be down to watch more movies if they were made on this level. Will they do it? I don't know, because I guess it didn't make too much money at the box office comparatively to other films, so probably not. But if they did decide to make one, I would definitely go see it. Alright, did you see this movie? If you did, what were your thoughts? Do you have a favorite horror film? Leave your comments below. I would be interested in reading them. And as always, if you liked this video, please like this video. I would very much appreciate it. Alright, thanks for watching. My name is Aaron, and I hope you come back and see me in another video. Goodbye.